Now the topic before us is unconfusing I and me. When to use each. When we write a sentence, sometimes we have to make use of words I or me. But we get confused whether we are to use I in the sentence or we are to use me in the sentence. By going this course or after going through this course, you this course will ensure that you use the pronouns correctly. There is no confusion in your mind whether you are to use I or me in the sentence. Pronouns like me and I take the place of nouns, avoiding repetition and making sentences flow smoothly. However, both these words, I and me, serve different functions. Firstly, we will understand about the word I. I functions as a subject pronoun. It acts as the subject of a sentence, performing the action, or it exists in a state of being. Mostly we use I when we are doing something. I as a person is doing something, or it exists in a state of being. I go to the market. I am performing some action of going to the market. So here it is a subject. If I write I play cricket, so here again I is subject. We cannot write me play cricket. It is not so. Here, when I am taking some step, so when some action is being done, then we use I. Other examples are I went to the store, I am happy to help. Here, I is in this state of being. She and I are going to the market, to the movies. She and I are the subject. I wrote this lesson. Here, I is the subject. Next, we will understand about me. Me functions as the object pronoun. It refers to the recipient of an action or the person affected by something. It acts as the object of verb, preposition, or infinitive. It is not performing the action. That is, whenever we use the word me is to be used in the sentence when there is no action being performed by me. Me is to be used when no action is to be performed by I. Me follows a preposition like with, to, at, or between. Here you can see that she gave the book to Tom and me. Here I am not taking any action. Action is being taken by she. She is giving book. So here we are to use me because here me is the object. It is a secret between you and me. She wants to come with me to the concert. Other examples are she gave the flowers to me. We will not say she gave the flowers to I. She gave the flowers to me. Or he shouted at me for no reason. We will not say he shouted at I because here he is the subject and I am at the receiving end. He is shouting at me. So here we will use not I but me word. Next is common mistakes. Misusing me in the subject position. It means that when we are to place a word in the subject position, we are not to use me, we are to use I. It is incorrect to use me as the subject of a sentence, especially when paired with another subject. But it means that subject has two or more individuals. In this sentence there are two or more persons. John and me went to the market. Remove this person John, but we will write me went to the market. Whether it looks nice, me went to the movies, no, we cannot use me in the subject position. So we will write John and I. If we simply remove John, then it is I went to the movies, it is proper. So John and I went to the movies is correct. We are not to place me in the subject position. Next is misusing I in the object position. In the object position we are to make use of me when we are at the receiving end, on when no action is to be performed. It is incorrect to use I as the object of a verb, preposition or infinitive. Example is, can you help I with this task? Here I am asking the other person for help. I am asking you, requesting you to help me in this task. So I am at the receiving end. I am not taking any action. I am not helping others. I am seeking help. So can you help me with this task? Here we are to use me. Next example, me and Tom are going to the movies. Whether we can say me going to movies, whether it is correct? Yes, we can say that I am going to movies. I am going to movies. It is correct. So here we will use Tom and I. Now the question also arises, why we don't write I and Tom going to movies? Why we did not place I in the first position? Because in the earlier incorrect it was me. In place of that we have inserted I. Why I has not been inserted in the first position? In English, as a matter of social convention or etiquette, we place the other person in the first position. However, if we want to emphasize ourselves or myself, if I want to emphasize myself in any sentence, then we can use I in the first position. For example, if we want to say I and Tom are in trouble, then we can place I in the first position when we want to emphasize. Otherwise, we will always place the other person in the first position in the subject. Next, she gave the book to Tom and I. We will never say she gave the book to I. We will always say she gave the book to me. So here she gave the book to Tom and me. She invited I to the party. We have already read that I is to be used as the subject and not as an object. So she invited me to the party. Here me is related to the verb I. Me comes after the verb invite. When the report is ready, please send it to Alice and I. We will never say send the report to I. We will always say send the report to me. So here, when the report is ready, please send it to Alice and me. In some informal contexts, informal means we are doing conversation, or we are speaking to other person, or we are simply writing to a friend. We are not writing, making use of formal writing. We are not writing any business letter or some sort of formal writing. in some informal context, using me as a subject might be acceptable in spoken English, but it is generally discouraged in formal writing. When we are speaking, we can say that, can James and me go now? It is formal, informal speaking. But it is better if we use, can John and I go now? Because here I is in the subject position. Bonus tip: when unsure, rewrite the sentence to rephrase who is performing the action or who is being acted upon. That is when we are unsure that is whether we should make use of I or me in the sentence. We should rewrite the sentence to clarify who is so that we may understand whether who is performing the action or who is being acted upon. This can help you identify the correct pronoun. That is, then you can decide whether to use I or me in the sentence. Now we will do some practice questions and we will do fill in the blanks whether we should fill me or I in the blank space. James and me or I. Here James and I are in the subject. Whenever we are here, I went to the concerned, we will never say me went to the concerned, because when we are to make it use of pronoun in the subject position, we will always use I. The teacher asked dash to answer the question, asked me. Here, after the verb asked, we will use me in the object position. Here the action is being performed by teacher. So teacher is subject, me is the object. Can you help? Here the action of helping is to be done by other person. So here object is me. Can you help me? Here we are seeking help from the other person. We are at the receiving end. Alice, Mary and Dash are planning to the trip. Here there are three persons who are planning. They are in the subject position. So here we will use of I. She gave the report to John and not I. She gave the report to me or John. Then she gave the report to John and me. Here me is in the object position because the report is to be given by her. She is doing action. So she is the subject, me is the object. Next is you and Dash need to finish the assignment. If we forget that there is written you, whether we can write me need to finish the assignment? No, we will write I, because you and I are in the subject position. He invited Mary and me because here he is in the subject position. Here invitation has been given by him, other person. He is the object, he is the subject, me is the subject object. So between you and me, this is a great idea. Me comes after the preposition between. Dash and I, my brother, went fishing yesterday. If we ignore my brother, whether we can write me went to fishing yesterday? No, we will say I went to fishing yesterday. So here we will make use of I because I and my brother are in the subject position. They are both, I and my brother are taking some action. She told James and me. She told me to wait outside. So here we will use me. It was me or I. Can we write me made the decision? No, it is wrong. we cannot say me made the decision, it is wrong. I made the decision, so it was I. Next is the prize was awarded to Tom and me. We are at the receiving end. Here neither Dash nor my friend could solve the problem. If we ignore my friend, then can we write me could solve the puzzle? No, we cannot say. We can say I could solve the puzzle. So here we will make use of I. Neither I nor my friend. I and my friend are in the subject position. My parents and Dash went to the movie. Here the action is being performed by my parents and I. I went to the museum. We cannot say me went to the museum. Whenever it is you feel or feel confusion whether we have to place I or me in the sentence and there are two persons in the sentence, remove the other person from the sentence and then think whether me fits properly in the sentence or I. You will you will definitely find the answer. Here if we ignore my parents, we cannot write me went to the museum, I went to the museum. So here I. He promised to help William and me. He promised to help me or he promised to help William and me. Here me comes after the verb help or after the preposition to. Understanding the difference between me and I and using them correctly will definitely help you avoid common grammar error and it will improve your overall communication skills. Thanks for watching. If you like our course, please spare some time to give a star rating to our course. Now the topic before us is don't get lost in the list, mastering commas in a series. Commas are essential for creating a clear and concise list in sentences. Now in this course, we will focus on using commas effectively in a series so that our writing is clear and free of confusion, so that our readers may understand our message properly. Commas in a series are used to separate items in a list of 3 or more items. What it means? It means that we are writing a sentence and in the sentence there are 3 or more items. It may be fruits or vegetables or some other grocery items, but these items must be 3 or more. Then we use commas so that there is clear distinction between each item or each element. Now we understand what we have said with the help of an example. I bought apples, oranges and bananas at the market. Now here you will see apples, after oranges, we have used commas. So these are commas in a series. These are the items apples, oranges and bananas and this is the list as a whole. So here to make the sentence clearer and free of confusion and properly readable, we are making use of commas in a series. The Oxford comma is also known as serial comma. When we are discussing commas in a series, it is worthwhile for us to also study what is the meaning of Oxford comma. It is the comma. Here we are talking about Oxford comma. Oxford comma is the comma which is placed immediately before the conjunction, like and, or in a list of three or more items. Using the Oxford comma can help us clarify the meaning and prevent ambiguity. Ambiguity means confusion. I had Now we understand the usage of Oxford comma with the help of example. I had eggs, toast, and orange juice for breakfast. So here you can see that here after eggs it is a comma, and after toast it is a comma. So here this comma which is written after toast, it is the Oxford comma, because this comma has been placed immediately before the conjunction and. This comma is before the conjunction and. With Oxford comma, what is the meaning of the sentence? We see, I had eggs, toast, and orange juice for breakfast. When we go through this sentence, we find that I had eggs, one item, toast, two items, and orange juice, it is three items. That I had three items for breakfast, because all are separated by commas. Now, if we eliminate this comma, which is after toast, what happens? I had eggs, toast, and orange juice for breakfast. Here, comma is not there after toast. What it means? Without Oxford comma, this sentence could be interpreted as having toast and orange juice as a single item. What it means? It means that when we don't use Oxford comma, we may interpret this sentence that in a way that I had eggs and toast and orange juice is the another item, that we are having only, I am having only two items for breakfast. Toast and orange juice is the single item, may be taken as a single item. It may be possible that thou as a person, or when we are using these items daily, we know that these are three distinct items, or these two, toast and oranges, are two different items. But if a person suppose does not know or have not used these items, he may think, or he may understand from the sentence that toast and orange juice are one item. So to clarify the meaning, we must make use of comma, that is the Oxford comma, in a sentence. It makes the sentence clearer. Another example, without Oxford comma, what happens? I love my parents, Charles and Lisa. In the sentence, you can see that after Charles and before and, there is no comma. Oxford comma is missing. Oxford comma is missing here. The reader may interpret it as meaning that you love your parents. These are your parents. I love your parents. You love your parents, and the name of your parents is Charles and Lisa. And Charles and Lisa are your parents. But if you use Oxford comma, what happens? I love my parents, comma, Charles, comma, and Lisa. Now, what this sentence means? Here, this sentence clearly indicates that you love four people. First is your parents, father and mother. Two, Charles and Lisa. This is three and four. You love four persons. Your parents are different from Charles and Lisa. You love four persons. So, when you don't use short comma, the same sentence means you love your parents. There are only two people. But if you use Oxford comma in the same sentence, The same sentence means you love four people. So it is up to you or what you want to convey. That is, there is a lot of difference when you don't use Oxford comma in a sentence. No comma and when it is okay. That is, when it is proper not to use comma. In a short series with only two items, that is, when you are talking about two items, I have an apple and an orange, there is, it is optional for you to use comma in that sentence. Example, I like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. There are only two items, but peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So it is optional for you to use comma here. However, it is better to use the Oxford comma if you are writing an essay for school or writing something that will be published and read by others. Now, tips for using commas in a series. Count the items. If there are three or more items in a sentence, use commas to separate them. In our earlier examples, there were three items and we had used the commas to separate all the items. Choose clarity. When in doubt, use a comma to enhance readability. Now, practice questions. Identify if the sentence needs an Oxford comma. She packed her suitcase with clothes, shoes, and accessories. Now, after going through this sentence, we may find that clothes is one item, shoes and accessories. If we don't use comma in between shoes and accessories, it may be, it may convey that shoes and accessories are one item or it represents only one item. Both these two words represent one item. But here we should use comma before and, that is, we should use Oxford comma so that we may correctly convey the message that she packed her suitcase with clothes, shoes, and accessories. That is, there are in fact three items. The meaning is proper. Adding, next is add the missing commas in the following sentence. The new store sells books, electronics, toys, and furniture. So missing commas are sells books, one item, electronics, second item, toys, third item. So all these commas as a whole are known as commas in a series. And this last one, which is before and, it is known as Oxford comma. So commas in a series is a all the commas which are used in the sentence in respect of all the items. Whereas the Oxford comma is the comma which is used in a list of items and it is placed before the last item and before and or. Practice questions. Determine if the sentence is clear or ambiguous and correct it if needed. I invited my friends Mark and Sarah to the party. So, what is the meaning of this sentence? After going through this sentence, we can say that this sentence is ambiguous. It can be interpreted in two ways. That is, you invited your friends and you invited your friends and their names are Mark and Sarah. It is one of the ways. this sen- sentence may mean. Other is that you invited your friends and also invited Mark and Sarah separately. That is, you not only invited your friends but also invited Mark and Sarah. That is, friends are separate and Mark and Sarah are separate. That is, as a whole, this sentence which is given is ambiguous, and it conveys that you have invited, it may mean that you invited your friends and their names are Mark and Sarah, or your friends are separate from Mark and Sarah. So what you want to convey is not proper. So to clarify the sentence, we will rewrite the sentence so that we can properly convey what we want to say. If Mark and Sarah, if Mark and Sarah are your friends, if in actually Mark and Sarah are your friends, then you can say that, write that I invited my friends Mark and Sarah to the party. That is, if Mark and Sarah are your friends, then you can use this sentence. I invited my friends Mark and Sarah to the party. There is no comma in between friends and Mark. But if Mark and Sarah are separate from your friends, not friends, if Mark and Sarah are not friends, are not your friends, then you can write that I invited my friends, comma, Mark, comma, and Sarah to the party. So here, if Mark and Sarah are not your friends, that is, they are separate from your friends, then you can write that I invited my friends Mark and Sarah. Here you are making use of comma after Mark and after friends. So here friends are separate, Mark and Sarah are separate. So here placing comma before and helps us to separate the items, separate the people. So in fact, this sentence was ambiguous, and if the two persons Mark and Sarah are our friends, we should write in this way: I invited my friends Mark and Sarah without any comma. If Mark and Sarah are not your friends but they are different or separate from your friends, then you are to use commas in a series and also Oxford comma in it to properly convey your message. Now practice questions. Rewrite the sentence with Oxford comma. For lunch, I had a sandwich, chips, and a soda. As already told, in case of Oxford comma, it is placed before the word and or. Here, this is the last item, soda. Before it, there is and. and before that we have to insert this Oxford comma. Identify and correct the sentence if needed. The team included engineers, it is first item, designers second item, second people, second set of people, and manager third set of people. So here we will use commas in a series after engineers and after designers. Before and we will use commas. The team included engineers, comma, designers, comma, and managers. Rewrite the appropriate with appropriate commas. In the box, there were pens, pencils, and markers. So here we will have to use commas in a series. There were pens, comma, pencils, comma, and markers. So that here we have used commas to differentiate all the items, to separate each item from the another item, so that the meaning of our sentence is proper. Now, practice questions. Identify the if the sentence needs an Oxford comma. My favorite books are Great Gatsby, To Kill a Mockingbird, and Moby Dick. So here, what is given? That my favorite books are Great Gatsby, it is first book. To Kill a Mockingbird, it is second book or second book, and Moby Dick is third. If we don't add any comma in between the second and third item, it may mean that these two books are same, or the name of a single book. To Kill a Mockingbird and Moby Dick are is the name of one book, but they are two separate books. So here we will insert a comma before and to clarify that these three books, this is the name of three books which are my favorite. Next is determine if the sentence is clear or ambiguous and correct if needed. We went to zoo with our neighbors John and Mary. This sentence is ambiguous because it can be interpreted in two ways. It may mean that John and Mary are your neighbors, or this sentence may also mean that John and Mary are not your neighbors and they are different from your neighbors. Though they accompanied you for the zoo, but they are separate from your neighbors. So this sentence can be interpreted in two ways. That is, your neighbors include John and Mary, or John and Mary are separate from your neighbors. So when we are to write the sentence, we must write in a way that our meaning is properly conveyed to the reader. So to clarify the sentence, we will have to rewrite the sentence. So how we do it? Let us see. We went to the zoo with our neighbors John and Mary. Here we are not inserting comma between neighbor and John. Now we have not inserted comma here in between neighbor and John. So it conveys that we went to the zoo with our neighbors and the name of our neighbors are John and Mary. In another case, if we want to convey that the neighbors and John and Mary are separate, neighbors are separate from John and Mary, then we may have to write that we went to the zoo with our neighbors John and Mary. Here, what we have did, what we have done. Here we have inserted comma after neighbors and after John. It means that our neighbors are different and John and Mary are also separate. That is, we went to the zoo not only with our neighbors, but John and Mary also went with us. So, in this way, we must clarify what we want to convey. Next, determine if the sentence is clear or ambiguous or correct if needed. I had lunch with my boss and my co-worker. This sentence is ambiguous, not clear, because it can be interpreted in two ways. It may convey that your boss and you, the co-worker, are same. That is, there is one person, say A, who is a boss and also your co-worker. You are working in an organization and there is one your boss. So boss is not only your co-worker but also your boss. So same person is the co-worker and the boss. That is, you are having or you had lunch with one person. But it may also convey that you had lunch with two people. One is your boss and other is your co-worker. So to clarify the position or to convey the intended meaning, we have to rewrite the sentence. If your boss and co-worker are two different people, if there are two people, boss is separate, co-worker is separate, then you will write, I had lunch with my boss and a co-worker. I had lunch with my boss and a co-worker. Boss is separate, co-worker is separate. So now if boss and co-worker are the two words which pertain to a single person, boss and co-worker is the same person, then you can write, I had lunch with my boss who is also my co-worker. I had lunch with my boss who is also my co-worker, or you can write, I had lunch with my boss. So in this way, you have to clarify whether there is only one person with which you had lunch or there were two persons with which you had lunch. Summary. While the Oxford comma specifically refers to the last comma before the conjunction, commas for a series encompasses the entire set of commas used in listing items, ensuring clarity and preventing ambiguity. For example, I bought a pen, eraser, stapler and notebook from the shop. All these commas collectively refer to the commas in a series. But this, the last one is the Oxford comma. It is the Oxford comma. Here, all these commas, including the Oxford comma, refer to commas for a series. So, by mastering commas in a series and understanding the meaning of Oxford comma, you can elevate the clarity and professionalism of your writing so that you can correctly convey to the reader what you want to say. Thanks for watching. If you like our course, please spare some time to give a star rating to our course.